Hello, boys and girls. The topic of today's lecture is on electrochemical cells and galvanic cells. So this is the image of a battery. You have seen a battery in your day-to-day lives, and you can see that in every battery there is two terminals, and the two terminals are denoted by two signs. One is the negative sign here, another is the positive sign. So negative sign implies the anode, where the oxidation is occurring and electrons are produced on this electrode, and anions are generated. They migrate towards the cathode, and the positive sign implies the cathode, where reduction occurs. That means the electrons that are migrating from the anode are consumed at this place. The cations that are also produced in the cathode, they migrate towards the anode. So what is a electrochemical cell? So it is a device where electrical energy is getting converted to chemical energy, or the opposite can take place. That means the chemical energy can get converted to electrical energy. So depending on the process flow of energy, the electrochemical cells are of two types. One is the galvanic cell, another is the electrolytic cell. So the galvanic cell, as I have said earlier, is the chemical energy is getting converted to the electrical energy. So where from the chemical energy is coming? It is coming from the redox reaction taking place within the galvanic cell. And the electrolytic cell, the reverse is taking place. That means the external supply of electric energy is getting converted to the chemical energy, and this external source of electrical energy is driving the redox reaction to take place. So these two are the major differences. But what are the similarities between these two cells? That a cell means that you will have you must have two electrodes. One is the anode, another is the cathode. Similarly, in all galvanic and electrolytic cells, there are anodes and cathodes, and there is a consistent flow of electrons moving from the anode to the cathode. But then what is the difference between these two? So this is the diagrammatic representation of a galvanic cell on the left hand side, and the right hand side represents a electrolytic cell. So you can see from the diagram itself that the first most important difference is that the anode compartment and the cathode compartment are separate. That means there are two different compartments, two different and separate compartments, for one for the anode and other is the cathode. Whereas in the electrolytic cell, you see that both the anode and cathode are placed in a same container having the same electrolytic solution. Now the second most strikingly and distinct difference is that the anode, you can see in the galvanic cell, is a negative electrode, whereas the cathode is a positive electrode. Now in the case of an electrolytic cell, the anode is, you can see that the sign has changed. That means the anode is a positive electrode here and the cathode is the negative electrode. But remember that the function of the anode and the cathode, irrespective of whether the cell is galvanic or electrolytic, is same. That means the anode is the electrode where oxidation takes place. That means there will be a loss of electrons. Whereas the cathode, both in the galvanic cell and the electrolytic cell, the cathode is a place where reduction takes place. That means there is a gain of electrons. That means the difference between the galvanic and the electrolytic cell is that the redox reaction taking place between the anode and the cathode is a reversible process. That means the delta G is negative. That means it's a spontaneous process. In the case of a galvanic cell, the redox reaction is spontaneous. Whereas in the case of electrolytic cell, the redox reaction is not spontaneous. That means the delta G is not negative. Now, another striking difference between the galvanic and the electrolytic cell is the presence of the salt bridge. The salt bridge, you can see here that it is an inverted U-tube, and its function is very much vital for the smooth flow of the galvanic cell. Now its major functions that I'll be explaining in the coming slides. But here you can see that in the case of electrolytic cell, there is a total absence of the salt bridge. So the fourth difference here that is given here in the point number 4 is that the the fourth difference here, that the potential difference, that means the potential difference that is arising between the anode and the cathode, it is due to the redox reaction. And this potential difference, it causes the electrons to flow from the anode to the cathode, and vice versa. The flow of current will be there from the cathode to the anode, and this potential difference is a spontaneous thing. Whereas in the case of an electrolytic cell, the potential difference also arises here in between the anode and the cathode, and this potential difference is because of the external flow of electricity into the cell. Now, if the cell current or the external current is put off, then what happens? The redox reaction will stop. There will be no potential difference. So this is the striking difference between the galvanic and the electrolytic cell. Now the fifth difference is that as we have discussed earlier, that the chemical energy from the redox reaction is converted to the electrical energy, whereas in the case of an electrolytic cell, it is the externally supplied electrical energy that is getting converted to chemical energy, and this chemical energy helps to drive the redox reaction. So the example of a galvanic cell is a dry cell or a Daniell cell, whereas in the case of an electrolytic cell, the typical examples are electrolytic purification of metals, then the anodization of the metals. These are typical examples. Now let us come to the seventh part of our electrochemistry topic, that is the galvanic or the voltaic cell. Now, as I have already told earlier, galvanic or voltaic cells, they are one class of electrochemical cells, and here the redox reaction taking place between the anode and the cathode is a spontaneous reaction. That means the delta G is negative, and if the delta G is negative, then the EMF of the cell, that has to be positive. Now it consists of two separate compartments called the half cells or the electrodes. So the two electrodes, one of them is the anode, this is the negative electrode where oxidation occurs. Cathode is the positive electrode where reduction occurs. Now if the two electrodes are connected by an external circuit, that means if you are connecting both the electrodes via a external conducting medium, then the electrons will start to flow from the anode to the cathode. And this flow of electrons is spontaneous. That means there is no external energy required for the redox reaction to take place. Now, another significant requirement for a galvanic cell is a salt bridge, and this salt bridge is required to maintain electrical neutrality, and it allows the reaction to continue. So example is a Daniell cell. So this is the diagrammatic representation of a Daniell cell. You can see that there are two separate compartments. One is the anode, and this is the zinc electrode, and the second is the cathode. This is the copper electrode. So the zinc is dissolved in the zinc sulfate solution, and in this arrangement the electrons are flowing out of the electrode and through the conducting medium that is connected, and it flows to the cathode, and the zinc ions, they start depositing in the solution. Now at the copper cathode, we find that the copper electrode is accepting the electrons and getting reduced, and this flow of electrons that is taking place from the anode to the cathode causes the current to flow in the opposite direction. Now you see that this is a very, very vital requirement of a Daniell cell, that is the salt bridge. Now this salt bridge is a inverted U-tube and it is containing an electrolytic solution. That means the electrolyte. What are the typical electrolytes? They are KCl, KNO3, K2SO4. Now you can take any electrolyte, but basically it should not react with the zinc ions or the copper ions. Now this electrolyte is electrolytic solution. We place agar-agar or a gelatin medium, so that the electrolyte is not in the form of a solution but in the form of a paste. So now if this salt bridge was not there, then what will happen? We know that this zinc electrode is also producing the zinc ions, and the copper electrode is also producing the sulfate ions. So in due course of time, they get accumulated at the respective electrodes, and this hinders the flow of the current. So also we require this salt bridge. What happens is this requires this total arrangement requires the circuit to be completed, and the salt bridge helps us to complete the circuit, so that if the circuit is complete, then only the current can flow from the cathode to the anode in the reverse direction. So what is the role of a salt bridge? First of all, it helps to neutralize the negative ions that are generated, the positive ions that are generated in the anode, and the positive ions that are generated at the cathode. So that means the negative part of the electrolyte that helps to neutralize the zinc ions, and the positive part of the electrolyte that helps to neutralize the sulfate ions. And also it helps to complete the circuit, so that the current starts to flow from the passage of current is continued. So also the role of the salt bridge is to prevent the intermixing of the solution, and it also, if the salt bridge was not there, then there could be a probability of precipitation reaction taking place. So how do we represent a galvanic cell? Now here you can see that the galvanic cell is represented in this form. So you write here the double line represents the salt bridge, and to the left of the salt bridge we write the anode, and to the right of the salt bridge we write the cathode. So the anode is represented by first writing the metal and then the metal salt solution, and the cathode is represented as first writing the copper sulfate solution or the metal salt solution and then the metal. So you can also write in the ionic form in this way. Now, what is the EMF of an electrochemical cell? EMF, the full form is electromotive force. So electromotive force is nothing but the maximum potential difference between the electrodes of a cell. Now, it is the EMF that causes the current to flow from the cathode to the anode. Now, remember that cathode is an electrode of higher potential and anode is an electrode of lower potential. Now, the EMF is measured with a potentiometer when the cell is not working. Now, EMF of the cell is represented as E cathode minus E anode. E stands for the electrode potential of the cathode minus the electrode potential of the anode. Now, if the E cell is positive, then only we can say that the redox reaction will continue in a spontaneous manner, and the cell reaction, we tell that it is feasible. Thank you.